folks. Welcome to Drunk Bible Study Bonus Edition. This week, I am going to be taking us on a little bit of a dive into that whole lioness with multiple cubs that she leveled up like Pokemon. That whole allegory that we encountered in Ezekiel. Emily's going to be talking about who actually wrote Ezekiel. And then Jace is going to be taking us through, I guess, some gossip about The Rock and his ex-wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Very important stuff.
So what's happening with these lions?
Okay, yeah. So we get this whole thing about how there's this lioness who brought up her cubs, and then one of her cubs becomes a lion, learns to catch prey, devours men, then gets captured and taken to Egypt. And then she's like, okay, well, I'll start over again with the second lion. He also grows up, learns to catch prey, devours men, then gets shuffled off to Babylon. And we were wondering, what is that referring to? Is this a callback to Joseph way back in the day? Is this a callback to the times of Moses when they were in Egypt? And
Right, yeah.
yeah, so it turns out it's actually very specific.
Oh.
It's very specific in that the first cub is supposed to be a metaphor for Jehoahaz,
What?
who was the king of Josiah.
Who?
Yes.
Oh.
Jehoahaz.
What? Really?
Yes, and Jehoahaz had a very short reign. He only reigned for a few months in 609 BC, and he was one of those where he had a short reign, but then he was a bad king.
He was one of the
the
bad. Yeah.
He was one in the Book of Kings and Second Kings. He was one of our many kings that showed up and was a bad king.
Okay, yeah.
And he was taken prisoner to Egypt after only a 3-month reign.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so a very specific reference for what seems like...
Yeah, that's really specific.
The fact that you've only got 2 lions seems weird that you would mention so specifically.
Waste one lion on that guy?
Right, exactly.
One wasted lion.
Well, then the second line refers to Jehoiakim of Judah.
Right.
And he
got
reigned
captured.
Yes, he reigned from 609 BC to 597 BC. And he was captured and taken to Babylon. So
Right. I think he was the one that what's his name dealt with.
Who?
Our previous prophet,
Jeremiah.
Thank
Jeremiah.
you. Yes.
Yeah, I think Jeremiah was dealing with him. Yeah, so this is more, I think we went a little lofty with it. We thought it was going to be a big, broad, sweeping metaphor, but really it's just kind of like a political cartoon.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
I think.
It is a little bit like a political cartoon.
And as I was doing more research, I found a site called shmoop.com.
Shmoop, there it is.
Shmoop, there it is, yes.
I don't know.
And
What
of
does it
course,
say?
I got a little distracted by what shmoop.com is. Shmoop is a Yiddish word that stands
Oh.
for like to nudge something forward.
Lovely.
And
Oh, yeah.
it's a
Okay.
site. It's a site that's more like a generic educational resources site, like they do, Shakespeare study guides, and
Cool.
they had some Bible study guides. That's why I ended up
Okay.
on the Shmoop
Yeah.
site. Their splash page, if anyone from shmoop.com is listening, and I'm pretty sure there must be at least one person listening, considering the far reach of our podcast.
Good God, you're right.
Let's hope so.
On their splash page, on their home page, they're breaking down, we make learning easier. We have relatable content, and we're student first. And then one of their talking points is, quote, humor's bone,
Excuse me?
which they describe as we use humor to break down tough subject into fun ones. And I'm like, this sounds like this was weirdly translated. Like somebody translated
It
funny
does.
bone.
Humor's bone.
Yeah.
But from what I can see, everyone on the team is full on native English speakers. So shmoop.com, just something to think about. Anyway, in their study guide for Ezekiel chapter 19, they essentially break down the events of the chapter into bullet points. Nothing terribly interesting there. They don't really offer any commentary. But the last bullet point says, Ezekiel repeats that this is a lamentation, not an episode of, quote, animals gone bad.
I'm sorry, what?
Okay.
What?
Animals gone
And
bad.
I guess that's an example of humor's bone.
There you go.
Okay. So I'm sorry, we're supposed to be so amused by the idea of animals gone bad that we don't realize we're learning things? Is that what we're going for?
I guess so, yeah. I think that's the idea.
That's funny. I mean, I could see this description of humor's bone kind of being the whole thing that Drunk Bible Study is about, right? It's
Humor's
like
bone?
we're learning things, but we're also
Oh, yeah.
boning.
Yeah, well.
I mean, drinking.
Oh.
But it's also, we're drinking, and so we don't really remember them very well.
That's
Slightly
true.
different approach to education.
Yeah.
Right. It's like if we approached education with the goal of not retaining any knowledge, that's where we really shine.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
We're retaining some knowledge, but not
That's
a lot.
true.
I mean, I'm not
Some.
retaining a lot. It's kind of all washing over me, and
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
Some stuff sticks.
Yeah.
yeah, some for sure.
That's what I got.
Alrighty. Well, that was fun. I looked up. I was interested during the episode, like who the heck actually wrote this book? Because they always say, "Oh, it's the prophet who wrote it," and I'm like, "Yeah, is it though?" And so I looked up initially on Google who wrote Ezekiel, and right away, churchofjesuschrist.org says the prophet Ezekiel is the author of the book Ezekiel.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
they say that, so he was a priest who was among the Jewish captives carried away to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar in approximately 597 BC. So, okay, whatever. But then you scroll down to the Wikipedia article, and immediately it says, no, he did not write this.
Controversy
So-
right away. Okay.
Exactly. It says essentially that this person, or not this person, but the men of the Great Assembly were the ones who wrote it. So,
I've heard of this great assembly before.
yeah, according to Jewish tradition, Ezekiel did not write his own book, the book of Ezekiel, but rather his prophecies were collected and written by the men of the Great Assembly. They're known as the Great Synagogue, and they were an assembly of 120 scribes, sages, and prophets in the period from the end of the biblical prophets since the early Second Temple period, which started around 516 BCE, to the early Hellenistic period, which began with Alexander's conquests of 333 to 332 BCE. So there's a bunch of, like Zechariah and Malachi, interesting, Daniel, a bunch of people. So these are like lower prophets, right? Are we going to talk about them later?
We're going to read their books for sure.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to the minor prophets. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, so that's apparently who wrote it. That's interesting. These lower prophets. That's fun.
Or that
And-
they're during the time of the Second Temple.
Yes.
Which was in that range, which is not that far after what we're dealing with now, right? Because like
No.
Dedeker just said, we get into like, it's weird to say, but like early 500s, meaning 590 something, 580 something. And then that what you just said, the Second Temple period starts in like 520?
16, it says
516?
516 BCE. Yeah.
So
And
not, relatively speaking,
Pretty soon.
not that long after.
Yeah, and it says among the developments in Judaism that are attributed to them are the fixing of the Jewish biblical canon, including the book of Ezekiel, Daniel, Esther, and the 12 minor prophets, given that they are them who probably actually did write about themselves, and the introduction of the Feast of Purim and the institution of the prayer known as the Shemoah Ezra, as well as the synagogal prayers, rituals, and benedictions. That's really interesting.
Wow.
So, yeah, this is this great assembly. Also, something that I didn't realize is that this book is also like in 3 different sections. So that's something.
Aren't they all? It does seem like they all.
I know
Yeah.
they all are. Yeah, I don't.
So what
wanna,
are the 3 sections?
So the book of Ezekiel is divided into 3 main sections, including first, the prophecies against Judah and Jerusalem, which are chapters 1 to 24. So we're still in that. And we have 4 more chapters to go in that. And then 2, the prophecies against foreign countries, which are chapters 25 to 32. And then 3, prophecies about Israel's future. So it doesn't say when that is, but till
This
the
is
end.
very similar to the pattern that we had in Jeremiah.
In Isaiah. Oh, in Jeremiah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
You
Where
know.
it was like prophecies about what will happen to you, then prophecies about what will happen to everyone else, and then prophecies about how it's going to be okay
Exactly.
later. Sort of.
Just later, maybe.
Yeah, well, honestly, they really need to go to that eventually. Also, I saw that there are 6 times that he sees God.
Oh,
Whoa.
we got a while. We got a few.
So I
to
feel like
go.
we've at least gone through 3 of them.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, but that means that 3 of them happen in the first section of this book.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, the first
Were
and
there
second.
3 or just 2?
Well, if you're counting this one, I mean, I remember like the first, major one to start the book off with a bang.
Right.
And then the second one, which was like equally as nutty. And then the third one, I would say, was what just happened, where it was like the Lord said to me, but maybe that's not a vision. That's more just like a listening exercise.
That's not a
Yeah,
vision.
that doesn't
That's the
count.
same old. All the other prophets have had this whole and God told me to say this to you. No, that's usual. I think we've only had 2.
Got it. Okay. All right. So maybe only
We
2.
might have 4 more to go, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
That's actually very exciting.
I hope they're all that awesome, but I don't know. I shouldn't probably expect that, but it was awesome.
I think it's going to be great.
Anyways, yeah, more about Ezekiel.
Yeah. So okay, remember at the beginning of the episode when I played you that clip from The Rock on the red carpet?
Oh, we remember.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
On the red carpet for The Red Notice, which apparently in the box office has done terribly.
Oh, no.
It's just been a huge flop. This movie
Is it a new?
just came out. Yeah,
movie?
it just came out. Has not done well at all.
Boy.
Not done well at all.
Boy, oh boy.
But in it, there was this one little detail that came up in that People, the TV show segment. Where they said that The Rock was joined on the red carpet by his ex-wife and producer on the film, Danny Garcia.
Oh.
His current wife, Lauren Hashian, and his mom.
Oh.
And I was like, wow,
the whole family.
What an entourage, what a crowd. And so I was like, tell me more about this relationship with his ex-wife.
Danny Garcia's cute.
So
looking at her.
Yeah, so Danny Garcia, it turns out, is amazing. Like, she's amazing. I don't know if she's an actor, but she should be cast maybe as a producer on our series here, if not an actor in it.
Yeah.
So she got married to The Rock in 1997. So like way back during his pro wrestling days.
Wow.
And she is also a professional bodybuilder now.
I was going to say, she looks like it.
Yeah.
She is buff.
Yeah, she's placed
buff
in
as all heck. Yeah.
Placed in international championships and stuff like that. But then after being married for 10 years, so in 2007, they separated and a year later got divorced. But the year after they got divorced, she became like his manager.
Oh, wow.
And co-created his production company with him that's still existent today. So in like interviews and stuff, I was just like so blown away and inspired by this. But in interviews, she's said things like, after our divorce, we spent like a year talking to each other about like what didn't work about this. What did we want here? They had a daughter together too, who's now a little over 20 years old, compared to The Rock's 2 new daughters that he's had with his new wife, who are much younger. But their 20-year-old daughter is also super inspiring and like, out there being an advocate for, equality and trans rights and women's rights and Black Lives Matter and all sorts of stuff. Really, really, really cool.
That's excellent.
But Danny Garcia, so here's the other funny part, is that when she and The Rock were married, they both talked about how broke they were back then.
Oh, yeah.
And this was in his WWE days. And then fast forward to in 2018, when The Rock was the highest earning celebrity in all of Hollywood in 2018.
Wow.
And she also owns several other companies besides the production company with The Rock, and is also, doing super well.
Also, if she's managing him and taking a fee, like
her cut of that,
she's also benefiting quite a bit, I'm sure.
She's doing just fine.
And producing films that he's in and stuff like that. Yeah. But supposedly, according to what I found, like she is the reason why we all know The Rock today.
Yeah.
Like why, she's the one who turned his career around from going nowhere to becoming this Hollywood legend. Like she kind of led that transition out of WWE into being a star.
Wow.
And part of that was when he first started out in Hollywood, there was a lot of pressure to lose weight and slim down and look more like a normal Hollywood actor.
I see, and not be like a wonderful, thick, beefy boy like The Rock is.
Right. Yeah. And not be this like 270-pound pile of muscle that he is. But she was kind of one of the forces in kind of taking over that image and being like, no, and like really helping cultivate his social media image, which is also this very positive, loving, personal thing. It's fantastic. And then to just make The Rock even more amazing. So they got divorced, and then he was together with and had 2 kids with his girlfriend at the time, who was Lauren Hashian. They were together for another 10 years before they got married.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay.
So like he really, like unlike a lot of celebrities like Justin Bieber, who like 7 months after, it's like we get married to whoever we're dating.
Right.
Really took that
Yeah.
that long road there. This is really, anyway, just the whole thing. I was like, the fact that you could show up with both them and his mom, who she was the one who got interviewed the most on the show and talked about how naughty he was as a kid, which was fantastic. But I was just like, this is cool. And Danny Garcia sounds freaking awesome. And I definitely think she needs to be involved in our project somehow, maybe as a producer.
Sure, bring her in. I mean, we'll have to interface with her because if we're going to book The Rock.
That's true. That's true.
Obviously, yeah.
And if she's his manager, then we're definitely going to have to. So.
Yeah. Maybe that's part of like signing The Rock is that she has to be a producer on it. That wouldn't surprise me, actually.
Yeah, I guess so.
But it sounds great. I'm down.
That's lovely.
Nice.
Heck yes. How lovely. Wow. Well, we hope that you all enjoyed this today. As always, it's just a fun like trip down this lane of knowledge that we didn't understand before. We didn't know about things like The Rock and lions and who wrote Ezekiel.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of people, 150 maybe. But we hope that you got something out of this, and we will see you next week for more Ezekiel.